Hey, Natsu here. Sorry for not doing the other one again. A few things happened. This recorder was lagging. I'm trying for this because I had the idea like yesterday or the day before that, like concrete idea, and it's not getting out of my head. So, what if deku controlled yin and yang energies? Sorry, had to do a small break. But yeah, basically, in this what if, which I should actually be doing at least twice a week, if the recorder doesn't bug. If I don't do it again this week, I'm gonna look for another recorder. I'm sorry again. I'm also going to try and basically do one of this one of the other one. Basically, that's why I'm saying twice a week. But yeah, so basically, yin and yang energy. I'm basically going to explain how they work. Don't think of them as key, like for Marshall Peak or something. Yes, I take inspiration from there, but I'm not using it the exact same way. Deku won't be able to fly and do things like that. Nah. Yang and Yin Ki are going to be precisely energies that, as I'm going to explain, he's going to get and be able to manipulate from inside of him. Yin energy is the energy of cold, death, and stuff like that, but Deku is mostly going to be able to use it to create energy constructs that are extremely cold, or create pure ice using his energy to basically freeze stuff over. Yin energy also allows one extremely good resistance against cold and a small bit of resistance against heat. The more powerful and denser the energy, the more resistant to it, and basically allowing one to, if reaching a high enough point, basically being able to bathe in the coldest material we know of, which I think is liquid nitrogen or liquid oxygen, I'm not sure. One of the two is basically the coldest we can do on Earth easily, if I remember correctly. Or they can also have things made of ice literally hit their body and basically just shatter on them, since your body literally doesn't feel it. Yang energy is the entire opposite. Heat energy, life energy. It will help him heal a bit, but it's not extreme. Well, to a certain point. And basically, this energy will allow him to create construct of heat energy, which both are visible, and also create a light / sometimes fire that is extremely hot. Just like the yin energy, this energy grants him a great resistance to heat and small resistance to cold. But basically, if he pushes it far enough, just like the other one, strong and dense enough, he would be able to bathe in the core of the sun if he wanted to and not feel it. Of course, that's pushing it to the far extreme. He probably won't reach anywhere near that in his lifetime. Quote unquote, if he lives as long as a normal human. That's going to be explained as well later. But yeah, basically, another thing that those energy do is that it strengthens the body. Basically, the more energy, the more someone can grow stronger, more defensive, more stamina, more speed, stuff like that. But they still need to train those aspects. Example, how Deku's going to train for most of the start before he reaches UA will increase his defense survivability as well as his stamina, but way less in speed and strength. Basically meaning he's going to be a bit stronger than Canon Deku physically, but in terms of defense, one of the 1, 2, and 3 pointers robots would be able to hit him directly, and he's gonna feel it, but they won't break his bones and such. Lastly, as I said before, he won't be able to use it like keys, so flying or creating effects like martial arts, he won't be able to do that. He can strengthen his body more by putting energy around certain part of his body to attack or create construct, as I explained. But the only way he would be able to fly is to make wings with his own energy to help him move. But then again, he would need to make wings that are big enough for his body, be able to control them perfectly enough so that they move the right way, and also learn to control the way he moves those wings perfectly enough for him to fly. Which is going to take a while. Because yes, he's going to be able to do it. But anyway. So, let's start at the start. Deku is about 4.5, 5 years old. He's already been bullied for a while and such, but it's still not that far. Since they just think he doesn't have a quirk, but they're still young. It's just kid stuff for now. One day, while going shopping with his mom, after going shopping with his mom, they decide to go in a park for Deku to have a bit of fun. Which, in that park, Deku finds near a tree 2 things. A fruit and a flower. Though, in his eyes, they both just looks like small fruit-like things. But the flower... Give me a second. Sorry, my notifications are off, but I got a text. I just needed to read it. Sorry about that. As I was saying, he found a fruit and a flower, though in his eyes they just looked like fruits. And he was hungry, and being a kid, he basically just took them and ate them. It was a fruit tree, so in his head it just went, oh yeah, fruits fall from there, and ate them. So, let me say the name of those 2. The Yin Chaos Flower and the Yang Devouring Fruit. These 2 fruits are something that can appear in the world rarely. Most people don't even know they exist. A few different other types of fruit, flowers, minerals, vegetables, others exist that when eaten allows one to control a specific type of elemental energy. Most of the time, if someone takes more than one, they will most certainly die, and even more when they're 2 contradicting energy, like the yin and yang. The only reason Deku is going to survive it is because compared to how others would normally be eating them, which is finding one earlier, having the process happen, and later finding another one, basically meaning there's already an energy established inside of them and they're trying to add more, Deku found both of them at once. Basically meaning what's going to happen in his body didn't already happen, so there's already nothing in there, and so just like One for All would normally break someone's body if they already have a quirk, but doesn't do anything to someone without a quirk, Deku basically ate two of them at once, basically meaning that his body gets changed by the two of them at the same time instead of one trying to go over the other one afterward. Though Deku is in for a world of pain. Basically, after he eats them, he keeps playing a bit. He doesn't feel it. But inside of his body, the flower, the yin chaos flower and the yang devouring fruit started to basically get digested, and now their effect starts to happen. Forcing yin and yang energy from the outside of his body, basically forcing it inside of his body, and also trying to create organs to store and control as well as create that energy. Well, the organs are only there to create and hold, basically making meridians as well as special veins. Basically, for the young devouring fruit, what it does is create special channels, which in the martial world is called meridians, which allows him to let flow the yang energy through his body. The yin chaos flower created veins that are similar to the meridians, but different. Basically, compared to the meridians, those veins are basically tied to his normal veins, kind of. So, both go through different channels. Though still, if he had eaten them at different interval, he would have died anyways. But since they are getting created at once, it just puts more strain on the body while his body is absorbing both at once, being modified to hold them. About a few minutes later, his mom was starting to bring him back home when he actually started to get a very high fever. The fruits are already disappeared from inside his stomach. They dissolved completely in a matter of minutes and are now fully in his system, creating the new channels and absorbing more energy. Because of the high fever that suddenly fell, she had to bring him to a hospital. And there, the doctors are completely aghast because his body is both extremely hot but also extremely cold in other spots. And a few doctors have tried different things, and they're literally trying to give him anything possible to help reduce the fever, but it doesn't really work. The reason being that his body is literally filling with yin and yang qi, basically making his temperature way off in either direction. And they basically have to call in doctors that have healing quirks to try and keep the boy alive. No, he doesn't meet Recovery Girl. They get people who have different types of quirk, but still able to heal. After a while, about 2 or 3 days of Deku literally being in agony, they actually start to discover that, his body is creating new organs, new veins, and new path, which they don't really know why at first, but speculate that it might actually be his quirk coming in, since it just kind of happened out of nowhere, and they actually think that his quirk should have been a mutation, but that for some reason his body hadn't actually adapted to it, and that now it's actually starting to basically blossom. Basically meaning those channels that they think should have been made while he was, being formed in the womb, are forcing their way there currently, when he's already fully formed. which for Deku, they think, is both a great opportunity to have a quirk, but also a fucking curse for him because currently he is burning up and freezing up all at once. For his body to finish creating them, which normally would have been a process of about 2 weeks if he only took one of the two, with him feeling barely anything, just having his temperature being more cold or more hot than normal. It took him 3 weeks and massive amount of pains. But once that was done, from their point of view, Deku seemed to simply, well, get better. Also, as someone who is able to feel energy, think like how Nejire is able to control life energy and can actually feel it from her body, or the guy that can steal the life force of others, well, life force, stamina, whatever you want to call it. He can feel that energy in others and take it for himself to attack. This person has the ability to feel the condition of someone based on their energy. And Deku isn't just full of it, he literally is with an abundance of it compared to normal people. Which basically he get tested to see what kind of quirk it could be. They know it must be a mutation, but why did it happen? And while trying out a few things, they found out that energy flows through those channels. Through one of the two, the one that looks like veins, it is an extremely cold energy that is literally chilling. They use a syringe to try and extract some, and it literally froze the tip. For the other path, it is an extremely hot energy. Well, extremely hot. Currently, it's not that hot since he's not trained yet. But it's still hot enough to basically say that it's warming up his body to a temperature where he should be dying from it. Currently, his body is at a regular temperature thanks to both of the energies flowing at the same time. But if you only look at one of the two, because of the yin energy, his body has would have an average temperature of about 50 in Celsius. Which, at 40, you're basically dying. So his body would be burning up. But thanks to his body being changed, thanks to the energy, and thanks to the fruit, basically to him, it feels perfectly normal. It feels as if he's the perfect temperature. In contrast, the yin energy, which is the cold one, basically would put his body temperature at a perfect 20 degrees Celsius, which would basically be meaning he's dead. Because you will not have that low of a temperature in normal condition. You cannot. Your body would die way before that. So, yeah, they're thinking that it has something to do with heat and cold, which over a few months of tests, he actually gets to learn that, oh yeah, he can manipulate the energy inside of him, with him being able to create ice, which is extremely slow at first, and also create heat, which once again it's pretty slow at first, or create actual construct of those energy. Very small things before he's completely out at first, but he's just thinking of training for that. Which he does. Until about a year before UA entrance exam. Which, well, 10 months actually. Let's put it as canon. He was never bullied again. In fact, he and Bakugo became great friends. Bakugo wasn't humbled, but Deku can protect himself. His body is extremely resistant. And simply put, Bakugo basically rubbed off a bit more on Deku now. Deku is a bit more brash. He isn't as bad as Bakugo. He's still very respectful. But he will be less inclined to just shut up in an embarrassing moment for himself. That's pretty much one of the only big change to his personality that I would say, if it wasn't for the fact that he does also calculate a lot more now. Like, you know how sometimes he starts to mumble in the anime and manga? Yeah, now, he does it a lot more in his mind only. When he says it out loud, it's when he needs to give an explanation now. So basically, sometime out of nowhere, now he just shut up and looks like he's thinking. Which is actually quite funny, because a few people thought they were being ignored by him, when in reality he was just trying to think of something, or trying to memorize what they were saying to him. But yeah, when the teacher was talking about going to UA, nobody actually laughed at Deku, for the simple reason that who would? This Deku will punch you if you are mean to him. He won't be mean about it, and if you're just playing around, he won't be mad. But if you actually go too far, he will punch you. Sometimes from across a room. Like light construct, a punch, bam. Well, energy construct. You just have to wish it's either the cold or the hot, depending on how you prefer it, because your shoulder will either burn or be frozen. He learned to actually create directly pure heat to basically burn things. He can start fire, or actually just create ice to freeze stuff now by putting energy outside of his body and forcing that energy out without building anything. So Deku is pretty good at that. Like I said earlier, he mostly trained the energy, not his actual body, so he has a lot of stamina and defense, but his attack power mostly comes from the energy and how he uses it. Basically, after the day ended, Deku decided to try and take a shortcut back home, which was towards where the sludge villain is. Give me a second, I really need to drink. Sorry about that, I was dying. Anyways, he still passed by where he faced the sludge villain in canon. This time though, when the sludge villain decided to attack him, Deku literally just froze it instantly. All Might then came out and basically just saw the block of ice. He congratulated Deku about beating the sludge villain, and Deku asked if he could be a hero with these powers, with All Might telling him that he can be a great hero with the power of ice. Deku then explained that he has more than that, which surprised All Might. But All Might told him he didn't really have time right now and needed to bring the sludge villain in to the police before he melted. So Deku didn't really make a fuss and just asked for an autograph, which All Might granted very easily. Bakugo didn't get in danger, so basically that small part isn't there. But All Might did say something to Deku before leaving. If you're going in the hero course, you might want to train a bit more. Basically saying that Deku is pretty scrawny and telling him that he'll need strength if he wants to be a hero. Before leaving. Basically leaving Deku with thinking for the next 10 months of doing a bit more physical training. Basically, which is going to... He was already doing physical training, but now he's basically thinking he could do more, which is going to push him at about, like, 20% more than what he was in canon in pure physical strength, not counting One for All, obviously. And I'm going to end it here before the UA entrance exam. So I'm going to do a bit of a recap for what he can do with his energy currently, which is build construct of heat or cold and create heat that can burn things, or ice to freeze stuff. He can control those as well to create a type of fire which is more yellow in color, since it's more or less pure energy burning than having actual fuel other than that. And the ice is, well, ice that he can also move around partially. Physical body, he can take a metal bat to the head and the bat will actually bend. He'll still feel it though. Physical strength, he's going to be a bit stronger than in canon, but not too much. And some interaction he's gonna have with some of his classmates are going to be hilarious. Stay tuned. Natsu, out.